podcast. I am so excited for you to meet Melanie Gonzalez today. Oh my goodness. You can tell from the moment she speaks that she has so much passion for what she does. She is going to really talk a lot about her district of 33,000 students and how they use social media. She's really going to break down the different audiences she is talking to with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn and how they do that. She's going to give us some details about basically live reporting from an event. Hers was graduation back in 2020, but she's going to talk about how she used the different platforms to get information and get, celebrations out there. So we're going to dive deep into that. And then she's going to share 4 secrets to a lot of her engagement, because she's doing really well with engagement. She's actually leading a breakout session this summer at NSPRA at the July seminar on engagement. And so you're going to learn so many great tips and tricks. And she's going to share specifically at the end of the interview, when she does a staff feature, what works better, just a picture of the teacher or a fancy graphic with some text on it and like the logo and all of that. She's actually going to tell you which performs better. So you don't want to miss it. Listen to this whole thing. You're going to love what Melanie has to say. Quickly before we get started, our Instagram challenge, and I don't know, I told you this, it's our last free challenge that we're going to do. This is the last one. It started last Monday, April 11th. You can still get signed up and you can still participate. You can still win, and you can get access to the recordings that we've already done last week, the trainings of all 10 challenges. We already did a detailed training on Instagram Reels. We're going to be covering Instagram stories and highlights. And we're going to get all your questions about Instagram and what works the best taken care of in this challenge. You don't want to miss it. You can still sign up. Go to my website. It's right on the top. You can sign up for the challenge. And now let's get on to the rest of the interview. Well, first, a little K-12 PR tip before we get started. All right, our K-12 PR tip comes specifically from my chat today with Melanie, and it's about Instagram. So Instagram, you like the grid, which are your actual posts in your feed, to look good, right? And sometimes you have to share information and you want to get things out that don't look as good. Well, Melanie shared a very simple hack. She's got access to a lot of beautiful photos. And if she has something that she's asked to share out on social media and wants to put it out on an Instagram post, she simply shares the first picture as one of those good pictures. And, you can put up to 10 photos in a post. She just shares the second or third picture with maybe all of the details on it that she didn't want to actually show on the grid view itself. This is a brilliant hack, by the way. I often say, hey, if it's like a flyer, upcoming event, put that into stories. But if you feel like you need to put something into the grid, into an Instagram post itself, I want you to try to have a beautiful image first, and then you can put the information as the second of the images, because then they can still swipe and get the information. It's a brilliant tip. Way to go, Melanie. I'm always learning, you guys. I just love this. And if all of that talk just confuse the heck out of you, you don't even know some of these terms of a carousel post or what you're sharing in stories, then you should be signed up for my Instagram challenge. It is free. It started last week, but you can get caught up. And so check that out over on my website. Right at the top in orange, you can get signed up as long as it's before April 22nd. Otherwise, you're going to be too late. But gosh, we shared a whole bunch of teaching and learning in that. But now let's learn from Melanie. Let's get to today's interview. Oh my gosh, I've got the most excited guest ever on today, Melanie Gonzalez. How are you, Melanie?
Hi, Andrea. I'm good. And you? How are you? I'm so excited. I'm sorry.
I am awesome. It is so great to have you here. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? I know you're the digital media coordinator and social media manager for your school there in North Carolina. So tell me a little bit about your background and your role with your school district.
Awesome. So like you said, I'm the digital media coordinator for Cabarrus County Schools. We are a district we're one of the top 10 like largest districts in North Carolina. And I run digital media works with everything, photos, videos, etc. But specifically, I deal on a daily basis with social media, managing that. I am actually from Puerto Rico. I'm not from North Carolina, but I moved here 6 to 7 years ago. And then I actually started working at the school level as a parent liaison and working my magic in there because I have an English degree. And I was like, I really want to be doing something creative every day, and trying to implement and develop those skills, even though they were not necessarily part of my role in what I was doing. So I got to do features and videos that we would put on YouTube for the school, like doing the social media aspect and managing on a school level, right? And then when the time came, I already had a portfolio of all of these projects that I expanded my role into doing. And then that's when, this position opened up and I was like, oh my gosh, that's my dream job. I want to do this on a bigger scale, and just highlight amazing stories, because it wouldn't be from one school, it would be from all of the schools. And we actually have 43 schools right now. And two are in the works for fall, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a big district. We have, 33,000 students. So it's a big district, and a lot of things that come at once. And it's different every day. But I think that's what keeps us, awake and excited for what's coming tomorrow. So it could be a little overwhelming at times, but I wouldn't change it. It's really fun.
That is awesome. And we can hear the excitement in your voice.
Yes.
So I've got a few questions for you now. Just to point out, and I always tell people I'm from such a small school. You're literally 100 times bigger than us because we have just over 300 students in our school and you have 33,000.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. 43 schools and obviously growing.
I know what you're going to ask though.
You do?
You're like,
What
how
am I
many
gonna ask?
people? Yeah, how many people do that? No, that's not what you're gonna ask.
Well, what's your department look like in your district? And kind of how are you set up that way? Why don't you share that?
We're only 3 people, which I know. Thank you for reacting that way.
I usually say the magic formula, Melanie, that I believe in. And I mean, I believe every district should have a school PR communications person, at least part-time, even in the small schools. But
Yeah.
my general ratio is about 1 person per every 5,000 to 6,000 students.
Wow.
So I think you're a little bit understaffed there, but so 3 people in your department.
Yes, 3 people. We have the communications director, Ms. Ronnie Boone, and then we have the digital media manager, which is Mr. Michael Martin, and then me, which is the digital media coordinator. So you can already imagine how we have to put a lot of hats on already because of the size of the district. So yeah, we kind of are the backup, we're the backup for each one. So
Right.
you can imagine. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a small team.
Okay, so I'm going to dive more into exactly what channels you're managing and all of that, but It's a really unique thing. So you moved to North Carolina from Puerto Rico, which I'm going to be really ignorant right now, and people are going to be like,
go ahead.
Yeah. So Puerto Rico is part of the U.S., right? Like,
good. Yes.
Okay.
You need to clap for that. Yes. Oh my gosh.
I'm good. I follow a podcaster, and he does Entrepreneur on Fire, and he moved to Puerto Rico, and so he does.
There you go.
And so I kind of knew that was part of U.S. But
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about like how old were you when you moved from Puerto Rico to North Carolina?
Whoa, I was a recent grad. I think I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 28 right now. So yes, that's a good math right there. I was 22. And yes, I was in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is part of the US. It's a territory, So you can actually, I say this to everyone, like literally, you need to go on vacations, but you don't want to pay for a passport. Go to Puerto Rico. It's a beautiful island in the Caribbean, warm waters, good views, and then you don't have to pay that much, you just get a flight and come back, and it's a direct flight, so you'll be good. But anyways, I'm sorry, I'm promoting Puerto Rico here.
Hey, we all need a break in school PR, so I love that. Puerto Rico is a great option.
But definitely try to include, because I grew up in a different place, I probably have a different way of seeing things, and I make sure to bring all that flavor here in my position, what I do now, or anywhere, whatever I do, to bring it in here. So yeah, it's fun.
That's awesome. So, so you got a big school district, really big.
Hmm.
You started out on that school level, which I think is really powerful.
Yeah.
Now you're doing district-wide kind of social media stuff. So what are you actually posting on? What does Cabarrus, is that how you pronounce it? Or
Yeah,
okay,
you're saying it right.
okay, so Cabarrus
Correct.
County Schools, what channels
Mhm.
are they on, and how does that all work?
So right now we are on Facebook, which is, and I'm going to break it down so you have an idea of what audience we kind of reach with each. But we got Facebook, and we kind of focus that on our community. We have our parents, and every time we communicate, we try to direct the communication like we're talking to parents slash maybe a couple students, but make it, fun and informative at the same time. And then we have oh, by the way, Facebook, we have 24,000 followers on that, more than 24,000. Twitter, we have for employees, right? We have a lot of our teachers there. And I believe, and this is because I come from a school level, right? So I can bring the insight that I know for my district. Twitter is very important for teachers. That's how they would, promote what they're doing inside of their classrooms. They would post pictures about their lessons, and just their full on profile as a teacher, right, would be Twitter. So that's an insight that I got, from working at the school level. But definitely it shows the same way when I'm looking at the analytics for Twitter, then, and the followers that we have on Twitter, then yes, I would say translate for our district specifically. That's where we get a lot of the content from, directly from teachers, right?
Okay, and
And admins.
about how many followers do you have, and then what kind of content are you trying to post there?
Yes. So there we have 10,400 plus followers right now on Twitter. I'll talk about the content in a minute because we got to go before and after. I'll explain in a second. But we are also on Instagram. And Instagram, we have 10.9K followers, and we're right there, like about to be 11. But the number kind of like, it's like, it doesn't want to change. It doesn't want to change. I'm like, no. So hopefully this week or this month that happens. And then Instagram, we focus more on students. When I got here, we were, we would say, oh, Instagram is for students, this and that. And then when I go back on the data on the back end, I saw that there was a lot of the audience, of course, like women is the highest. And then the data said also that it was more towards 30, like people that were between their 20s and 30s high. And I was like, I think we've been looking at this a little wrong, because it is. I mean, that is where the students are, but are they following us? Are they our audience? So that was something insightful. And then we are on YouTube as well. And YouTube, we kind of during the last year and a half, when I got here, YouTube had 200 followers. So we would put things on YouTube, but we wouldn't push out the content that was on YouTube on other platforms for people to know that we exist on YouTube. And right now we're at 2K, more than 2K. I don't remember the exact number. So we have really been intentional in growing the audience there, and making all the pushes necessary for that. And then last, we are on LinkedIn, and that really, the HR is the one who has the overall management of it, but we have editor rights. And anytime that we are going to post on social media related to employment or related to celebrating our teachers, those are stories that, if we want our district to be known for future candidates, for the good stuff, then you should be pushing it out there. So really that started recently, that we're going to be more intentional with putting out, cross post on LinkedIn as well. So yeah.
Awesome. And so you do that all on behalf of the district. Great numbers that you shared, great insight on, kind of the audience that you're trying to reach. So those 43 schools, do they have their own social media channels, and who's responsible for those?
So they do. And again, we are you would imagine as a big district, that's something that you would have had to really organized from the beginning. And I believe at the beginning when I wasn't here, it was a little bit more open to if you wanted to, if etc. So really the principal, once the school is built and the principal is designated, he is the one that then reaches for to us as a communications department to see if they need, assistance or help in getting it started. And they'll be on the social media channels that they decide to be. So again, yes, they all have the ability to have a platform, to be on a platform, but it's not a requirement, first of all. And second of all, they manage it. So it's either the ITF from the school or the principal. Like I've had principals that, how do I do this? I don't understand that. And they're even the ones that, to an extent, we have a star principal really at our district that she's all over like Twitter, and you can see that what she posts on her personal, she kind of grabs it and like posts on the school one too. So it just varies. So that's really a project that we have been talking about, like, how could we improve this system so it could be a little bit more synchronized amongst the schools. But yes, a lot of them do, and a lot of them don't do all of the platforms, but they are in some way existent.
Okay. And that's one thing, Melanie, that we're really focusing on in our membership group, to provide some resources to our folks that they do have these like ambassadors or, people that either are paid or not paid, depending on, but giving them some parameters and some best practices. And here's what we really want to see. Because it's one thing to have the social media channel. It's another thing to actually be updating it with things that matter and using it in the right way. But you're right. I mean, you can't go back and start over again, right? Once you've kind of unleashed the beast or whatever. And
the saddest thing I would say is seeing a social media profile and it's like, oh, like the post is from 2008. It's like, does this school exist anymore? You know what I mean? So that's sad.
That's totally true. But wow, you've really grown your channels now. So we're going to dig into some specifics so that you can kind of share what you've done. But first of all, you were just awarded a big time award for the second year in a row. So can
you know that?
What's that?
How did you know that for the second year in a row?
I do my homework
research.
So tell me about it and kind of what you do differently that kind of allows you to stand out.
All right. So yes, we are so humble and proud that for the second year in a row, we got NSPRA's Best of the Best for digital media engagement. And for the first year that we won it, which kind of relates maybe to the position where a lot of the audience that's listening right now could be in, which is planning for graduation. For us, it was 2020 back then, but they award you the next year. But the graduation was going to be held at a non-traditional location for the first time, which was the Speedway at Concord. So I guess it's the Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's your correct name. And, we had 50-50, like, of our audience. When we published that out the first time, 50% was like, oh, that's so cool. That's new. And I love it. And the other 50 was like, oh my goodness, what have you done? So we were battling, that wall of negativity for a while until graduation came. And our district, even before I came here, I mean, the team is amazing. My, communications director and the manager, the digital media manager, they have already been big on for graduation, at least, to bring people with the experience, like try to somehow bring people digitally to the experience in providing, either images on real time, on social media platforms as the event is happening. But for this year, it was really, really big for us because, as there was guest restrictions, right? And at least for our district, it was, first of all, they could only go in cars. So it's like a drive-through, right? And I mean, hello, it's a speedway, so it makes sense. but they couldn't get off the cars. If I'm not, if I'm remembering right. Yes, they couldn't get off the car. So literally they would all park in a section and then come around. And at the finish line, you would have the principal handing out the certificate. So a lot of the families couldn't be there, right? It was only the driver and the graduate and maybe somebody in the back. I don't know. So it was really important for us to bring that live experience to everyone that was watching at home, everyone that stayed at home. And we did this whole plan of like, okay, so I'm going to be doing social media and I'm going to try to hit all of them, right? We did Facebook, we did Twitter, and Instagram. We focus on those three. And then, yes, we focus on those three, but we also had the photographer, like the professional photographer, and he was taking pictures and in real time sending them to me. And then I was posting them on social media. So it was like a mix of, you know, what can I say? Pictures from my phone, like live stories, but also it was a mixture of, high quality professional pictures in real time about the graduation. And then also what we did too, an element that we added to that was, well, let's go ahead and grab speeches from the seniors ahead of time. And I did, some graphic elements that had their senior picture and then a quote from their speech. And whenever I knew that they were going on stage, boom, I would be posting that on social media. So again, let me all that jumble that I just said, let me kind of put it clear. So Facebook, we focus on doing in real time postings, right? In Instagram, we focus on doing in real time Instagram stories of each part of the program. But also after the graduation was done, we would do a wrap-up post, including those high quality images, the best ones that we got. And then on Twitter, it would kind of go like what we did on Facebook, which was just post and post and post and post. So those would be more frequent too because of the live, the live feature of it. But something really important that we did was use our hashtag. We had Capco grads and then the year to it. And what that made, at least specifically for Twitter, it grouped all the pictures together, right? If I went to search for the hashtag, I could find it. But also whenever people from the audience, like students, were taking pictures, they would use that hashtag. And that way we could be pulling things that was from the audience. And then afterwards, after graduation was done, we did a little Twitter moment. We gather like all of those hashtags together and created this Twitter moment on Twitter and then share it also with the community. So there was a lot of blasting from every single part, but I think we also built from that because, on our communications about graduation, we would tell them like, hey, we created a little website for graduation with all the information. Here's the hashtag, like, don't forget to. And then right before graduation was about to start, we went on, I believe, Facebook Live, and we were like, just so you know, we're about to start, don't forget to use the hashtag. So like we kind of built for that moment and then just let it happen, take the best that we could, and then share it online simultaneously. But it was a big project, and we really worked really hard, and we left really, really late. But it was very rewarding. What I will say, and this is kind of the end of that story, is, I cannot tell you, and I think I sent you some screenshots of like the reaction of the people, right? After it was done and done, people were so grateful. We had so many comments on Facebook and Instagram, like, oh my gosh, like my expectations were very low, but this was amazing. Like, thank you so much. They were just so grateful for us being able to give them that experience, even if it wasn't on person. So for me, that's all I needed to hear to make me feel like, yeah, we definitely did the best we could within, the situation that we were in. So yeah.
So you, instead of live streaming the whole thing, you really broke it down into those little segments.
Yep.
After
That's exactly what we did.
Okay, so on Instagram stories, you were also putting things out. Then
Mhm.
afterwards, did you save some of those stories to your highlights?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay,
That was a highlight, and it stayed there for the whole year, like on
okay,
Instagram. And that's what we do now every year. Like after graduations, we have, on our profile, one of the highlights is graduation. And
okay.
and I mean that's a big deal for the students. We also, and I'm telling you, we kind of went a little overboard. The director of high schools, Ben Allred, he wanted to give something for the students. So on top of that, our department designed a shirt for them that said it had like all the speedway theme, and they got to go home with those too. So like for example, that's one post that I can think of that I was like, oh, that performed really good because they were excited. All of them got a T-shirt. But for as a general number, our live tweets earn 108,000 impressions, and that's a big number. Our Twitter graduation videos earn more than 6,000 impressions. Um, Facebook graduation got 26,000 views in there. And then engagement, I think the reach and the engagement was big for Facebook. We had 28,000 for reach, and then 3.8K for engagement. So you can imagine, I mean, if people are engaging with your content and it gets to 3,800, then it means they are tweeting, they are liking, you know what I mean? They are interacting with that content that you're putting out. Yes.
Yeah. Now, I and many of my listeners right now, Melanie, are breathing into a paper bag because they're like, how in the heck during a live ceremony can you be doing all three platforms at once? And so I just want to tell people, like, if you were to take a step back and say, okay, the people listening are like, this is awesome, but I'm busy thinking about it. If you had to pick one of the platforms to do live, and then the other two platforms you're going to pick up and you're going to share stuff from them, but you're not going to do it live.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say would be probably the most beneficial to do live in the moment as you're going, in your opinion?
Well, now that Facebook bought Instagram, I would definitely say take advantage of going live on Instagram, or you're talking about going live, not stories, right?
No, I'm talking about what you did instead of live.
Okay.
You were tweeting out pictures,
Okay.
and you're
Okay.
posting pictures on stories, and
Yeah.
you were putting things out on Facebook. And I know from experience, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't work for a school, but I mean a specific school,
Mm-hmm.
but we work with lots of them, and I'm at big events, and sometimes it's really overwhelming. So I'll just say I just did an academic night, and what
Mm-hmm.
I did was I took a bunch of pictures throughout the event, and then I just got to myself, and then I started putting them out on Instagram stories, because to me
Mm-hmm.
that is like and then it auto posts to Facebook stories. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, like if I was live doing anything live in the moment, that's where I would tend to go and say that's probably
Yes.
the easiest for me. But I do know, Facebook alone with reach and things can have just live posts in Facebook that might have a big reach. And Twitter has its own element, but yet, like you said, there's more teachers there than
Mm-hmm.
like family members and community members. And so I wouldn't necessarily worry as much about that channel, although that channel lends itself well with hashtag usage and all of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what would you suggest if you just had to pick one? What do you think would be the best?
I think I agree with you. First of all, you gotta explore like this event, like who is it for, right? And then determine where are they at? Are they in Facebook? Are they in Instagram? Or are they in Twitter? But I would agree with you in the sense, and again, I go back to this because Facebook bought Instagram. If you do a story on Instagram, you can automatically, throw it to Facebook if those accounts are linked, right? So then you're hitting 2 for 1. So I would definitely pick Instagram stories. It's a quick thing. And even now, and you can do this exercise by looking into yourself, like, okay, when I go to Instagram, what's the first thing I do? I think the first thing people are doing nowadays is tapping on those circles. They want to know what's going on right now in the moment. So I think that's a very, it has a lot of traction, right? Instagram stories that turn into Facebook stories. So I would definitely focus on that, but don't take away, because it's an event, right? You're going to get out of there with good pictures, right? To some extent, at least 5 pictures of the event. And you want to get the commotion going. Just because it ended doesn't mean it ended. You know what I mean? So you kind of stretch it out on social media. So after you're done and you're over the stress, maybe even the same day, just, take 20 minutes to relax, recompose, sit down for a second, grab your best 5 pictures and do a recap of what just happened as a post on Instagram, on Facebook. You can even cross post that if it was for everyone, the event. So yes, right. That's what I would do. I agree with you. Definitely.
Okay. That's awesome. Thanks for going through that. And so if they want to look at the hashtag from last year, it would be CABCO. So CABCO grads, GRADS 2021. Is that right?
Sorry, no, 20.
Okay, so the big one that you did was 2020, or do you just use the number 20?
20, yes.
20, not 2020, but just CABCO grads 20. So check that out and look at that. And then you won the award again. So you've been doing some other things. So why don't you? And you've really got a lot of growth. I mean, you talked phenomenal growth like on your YouTube channel, but with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. What's some of your secrets as far as growing those followers, growing that engagement?
What secret? What are you talking about?
I know you got secrets, Melanie, to tell us.
All right. So I actually went through, let's see, secrets. Well, it's a lot of pre-planning, right? It's a lot of sitting down and analyzing what works, what doesn't, because sometimes we get caught up in the day to day and let's do this and push out. You never sit down back to look at those numbers and see like, okay, am I accomplishing what I want, and setting some goals. It sounds a little funny sometimes, but you do have to, because you do have an audience, and there is an expectation. If your account were to close tomorrow, everyone would be asking, hey, where are you? So yes, you have to set some goals for that. I would say I'm going to give you 4 quick ones that I can think of. The first one is going to be high quality content, right? And at times that is going to mean a high quality picture. But other times that's going to mean a low quality picture with a really strong story, behind it that has a sense of community, right? So I would focus on that. And that's something that I did have to work on, coming into this new role. Sometimes we would get, there's things that we need to push out that are informational, and we just can't get around that because it's coming from other places, other departments, and that's okay. But we would get a lot of like logos that had low res or things that were not appealing. And I was like, hold on, we need to change this a little, because if I were seeing this post, I would not want to engage with it. So I would put a lot in the place of the audience to see what would I like to see, and kind of being smart. For example, Instagram, you want to have that beautiful grid, and here comes a department saying, I need you to post this. And you're like, oh, that doesn't go with my aesthetic. So then that's really my secret. I can tell you that's a secret. I go back to our folders of beautiful pictures that we have taken, and I try to find one that relates to the message. And then what I do is I post, that post is going to be, they have to swipe for the second one. So the first one would be that beautiful picture, and the second one is that informational text or whatever it is. And obviously duplicating that information in the caption. So yeah, high quality content. Sorry, I talk a lot. Let me go to the second one. The second one would be like, I just told you, this trial and retrial, right? we have some content that, for example, is recyclable. I'll give you an example. We have every month, Teacher of the Month awards, right? And what I've come to do is put out the post and then wait for the next month, look at the numbers and see, well, how did it perform? Was it good? Maybe I could use a picture just of the person, no graphics, no text, and see how that performs. And then the next month, try it out like that and see which one people are liking more or are interacting with more or gets them more excited to engage with. So that's one, trial and retrial.
And what would you say, just that specific one? That's something that people are going to ask. So, we tend to say keep some of the things simple, and with accessibility and all of those things, you gotta be careful of how much text you're putting on your images.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Do you have any advice, like if you've done some of those teacher recognitions where you had really elaborate, great graphic and with a bunch of words on it, and then versus just a picture, what performed better?
Don't laugh, but just the picture of the teacher. I'm not kidding. Just the picture of the teacher, no logos, no nothing. They're just there. And now we kind of take pictures of them at the award and then post it. So those come out really nice, but just really high quality picture of the teacher. If you can even go to the school and take a picture of them after the fact or before, whatever, and just post that. Yeah, that one has performed really good. Just seeing faces.
Yes. And I love that. It's like mic drop. Melanie, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see she has the nicest podcast mic ever. But it is mic drop, like keep it simple. We just shared a post out about acknowledging your seniors. And it's like, you don't need these fancy graphics with their name on it, class of 2022, and all of this stuff. You just need the nice picture. And luckily with seniors, you usually have nice senior pictures. So I love it. Try it, retry it. Look what works. Love it.
Yep.
Okay. What else?
Yep.
What else are your secrets?
The next one is going to be, don't wait for the content to come, go and get it. And I know that's hard sometimes with the size of the team, etc. But you do have to, reevaluate your strategy, which again is something that like I had to do once I came into this role. There was a lot of informational posting to go out, which is really duplicating whatever is going on the website. If it's an article about an event that's coming up, well, that's a flyer. There's probably no pictures there. If we're celebrating whatever month, well, that's another graphic from an organization that is not even ours. And again, that's not ours. It's not original from us. So then we were getting a lot of those, and I would be like, well, what else, So I had to repurpose the strategy and be like, okay, no, first of all, going back to the audiences, right? Who are we talking to every time we post on each platform? And second of all, we have so many stories to tell, we have so many great things happening at our district. And you can imagine, 43 schools, right? And of course, we cannot probably gather all of those, but we can get a big chunk of those. So what I started doing too was either whenever I saw something on Twitter, right? I'm on Twitter. Like I'm on Twitter as a digital media coordinator, and I am following as much schools as I can, and I'm following as much teachers as I can from my district, because guess what? Anytime they'll post something, it'll be on my newsfeed. So that way I'm connected to what's happening without having to visit all of these classrooms. And whenever I see something that I'm like, okay, that could go for the district, like this could be big or whatever, we can highlight it. Then I go ahead and grab the content or send them a message and say, hey, can you send me this picture? Send me more information about what happened. And that could be either a simple post, or it could turn into an article for the district because it was a big thing, that happened. So that's what I do. And I've been trying to be very intentional of having, sometimes you just got to post for fun, right? You need to post for fun to show your community of students, your community of teachers. And a lot of the times before, we needed a reason, right? We needed a reason because we needed to be fair on the coverage among all schools. And it got to a point where I was like, you know what? We're missing out. We were missing out on the day that everyone wore green just because it was, lucky St. Patrick's Day, let's get that. Let's grab that. Let's see who posted, who put it on Twitter. I'll grab those pictures, put them together. And that's a sweet, funny post for Friday, So we've been very intentional about not just sharing stories and looking for those stories, but also just having fun and letting the parents on Facebook see their kids just having fun at school. And the last post that we did on Facebook, if you want to see that, was 2 basketball players that used to play at a high school level here for us that were now in the March Madness, Duke and North Carolina. So we went ahead and I was like, well, what can I say that's fun and cute? I was like, okay, how it started versus how it's going. So there was a picture of them both in the same team when they were in high school, and then a picture of them now as rivals, from 2 different teams for March Madness. And that got 1.2K engagement. People loved it. They were like, yeah, and rooting for whichever one they wanted. So yeah, that was very neat. So again, taking advantage of wherever you're at and the stories that are around, just go get them.
So that's awesome. And we'll link up to that post there, 622 shares. Anytime you got somebody famous or whatever, that's
I know, yeah.
Okay, so we've got getting high quality content, try and retry, go get the content, and then do you have a 4th secret?
Well, yeah, I kind of mentioned already, but being intentional with each platform, cater to your platform, right? We have different audiences. So yes, the cross post feature is good to have, but you got to be careful with it. That would be my advice. Just don't go crazy cross posting, just be intentional. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And that was one of the biggest struggles right now. We're right in the middle. It's April 18th when this is getting released, and it's the 2nd week of our Instagram challenge. Our free Instagram challenge. So hopefully everybody signed up for that. If you didn't, you can still sign up actually, and get all the access to it. But one of the biggest struggles with people doing Instagram is like, I don't know what to post. All I do is I share the same stuff on Facebook as Instagram. And in some cases that can work, but there's a lot of unique things. You already have talked about a couple little hacks, and then we got Instagram stories and highlights and reels and all of those things.
Yes.
So we do have to be intentional, and there are amazing ways to engage on that channel. So get signed up if you haven't been. Our time flew by, Melanie.
I'm sorry, I talk a lot.
Everybody can hear the passion in your voice, and they're probably like, hey, maybe Melanie needs to be on this podcast more often, and maybe we'll have a chat.
Hopefully.
But you shared so many great tips, so many great strategies. I really want to invite everybody to check out their social media channels, which are all linked in the show notes, guys. So go check that out. Melanie, what's the best way for listeners to stay connected with you?
Well, I'm an open book. You can follow me on Twitter, which is, I hope I'm saying it right, Melanie at Melanie School PR. I'm just going to double check that for a second. I don't want to send you to somebody else's page. But you can also email me at hello.melaniegonzalez@gmail.com. And yes, I was right, on Twitter at Melanie School PR. And then I'm on LinkedIn as well. Just look for Melanie Gonzalez. I don't think there's many of those, but I don't know. And then that's really it. That's where you can find me.
That's awesome. Well, I think we are going to want to stay connected. Now, are you by chance going to the national seminar in Illinois this summer?
It's so funny that you ask.
Okay.
Can I tell you a secret? This is a secret. It's not a secret, but my proposal got accepted. So I'm actually going to be speaking there.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
So I hope that I meet you in person.
Yeah, you will, because we're doing a free seminar session, and I've got an Instagram Reels session with Melissa Reese out of Pennsylvania. What's your session
on? Thank you for asking. Now I forgot, but it's I think it's increasing engagement on social media. Yeah.
So Melanie's going to be doing a breakout session, you guys. The NSPRA seminar is in July, and it's in Chicago. And if you talk like me, Chicago's not very far away because you're in Wisconsin or Minnesota. And so we're driving down there. Our team is actually going to be sponsoring a table. We're going to be sharing all sorts of social media tips and all of that. But the biggest thing I love there is learning and
Mhm.
networking. So you just get to meet all of these awesome people like Melanie in person. So get
Aw.
signed up, talk to your leadership, because that's a powerful group to get involved with. And it's a great seminar. Thank you, Melanie, so much for chatting. And we definitely will meet in person this summer.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I am a fan. I love your podcast. So thank you for everything you do and the time you invest. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you've met a lot of school PR folks, and now they've gotten to meet you. And so
Yes.
definitely look her up, Melanie at School PR on Twitter. Give her some shout outs, and everybody else. We'll be back here, same time, same place, as far as releasing a new episode of this every single week. We're so thankful for the work that each of you do, and we hope that a few of Melanie's tips are going to help you be a better storyteller for your school. So until next time, see you later. Bye, Melanie.
Bye. Thank you.